entre más lejitos las pongan como que por aquí, así, quedan bien.
This guy's coming in. That could be the doctor.
But if there was a list of the most respected members of the community, a cancer research doctor would probably be near the top.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Could it be?
So, not bad of a drive?
Well.
See.
This guy's coming in. That could be the doctor. Go to Mark 3. Have him come towards you.
Hey, you made it. Come on back.
Thanks. How are you?
Good, how are you?
This man is
So,
48
not
years
bad of a
old,
drive?
married, and a prominent San Francisco physician.
Yeah,
It's hard to believe that someone of his stature would show up to meet a girl who said she was 13 and then follow her into the backyard where she invites him to go in her hot tub.
Pour me a drink. I'm actually going to put on my suit so maybe we can get in the hot tub because it's all warm.
He met the girl online 3 days earlier. The girl was really a perverted justice decoy pretending to be 13. Using the screen name Tall Dreamy Doc, he lies and says he's 29. Remember, he's really 48. He asks the girl, "What bra size do you wear?" She says 30B, but it's kind of big on me right now. I'm still growing. He replies, "I will kiss them." He goes into graphic detail about giving and receiving oral sex, and later says, "I'm horny for you," and asks her to masturbate while thinking of him. He tells her several times he could get into trouble, but it isn't enough to stop him from coming over and helping himself to a drink.
I can't. Oh, jeez.
So where are you coming from?
San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, so there probably was a lot of traffic, huh?
Do you have a towel?
As the doctor looks for a towel, he spots Dateline's camera crew.
I gotta take off. Sir? I need to talk to you for a minute.
He runs, but he doesn't get very far.
Oh,
On the ground.
I wasn't gonna do it.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Get his keys. I wasn't doing anything. Oh, man, I wasn't doing anything. Get his keys. I wasn't doing anything.
And like all the other men caught in this investigation, from used car salesmen to engineers to Marines, he goes through the same procedure. First stop, the booking station.
What am I being booked for? We'll explain all that to you. Can I call my wife?
You can do that after the booking procedure.
The police ask routine personal questions, but the doctor appears distracted, nothing sinking in.
You're going to talk to a detective and just...
Yeah, I explained that to him already. He's just not, he's failing to...
I'm not failing. I'm just really scared. Nothing to be scared about.
Nothing to be scared about?
No.
I'm somebody who has never done anything in my life besides a traffic ticket, and you wouldn't be scared?
You're in some trouble, obviously.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in big trouble, and I feel like I made maybe a mistake, but I didn't do anything.
He's Dr. Maurice Wolin, head of clinical research and medical affairs for a pharmaceutical company, and he's not happy about seeing our cameras.
I'm here in handcuffs. I have pictures being taken of me left and right. I don't know what I'm being accused of.
He's then taken in for questioning by Detective Steve Nelson of the Petaluma Police Department.
First thing I'm going to do is explain to you your Miranda rights, okay? Okay. You have the right to remain silent.
At first, the doctor agrees to talk.
So, I'd like to talk about what happened today, okay?
But he quickly changes his mind.
What screen name do you use?
I really need to have an attorney present.
Okay. Okay.
But despite asking for an attorney, he chooses to keep talking.
You asked to talk to an attorney.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to discuss this further because I can't, unless you want to waive your right to have an attorney present.
The detective asks him 4 more times if he's waiving his right to an attorney.
I will answer what I can.
And each time he agrees and continues to talk.
I'm not going to play games
I'm
here.
not playing games. I'm scared out of my mind.
Right. And I understand that.
You saw my record. I've never done anything wrong in my life.
Okay.
And now I'm being charged with very serious offenses.
Why did you come to the house in Petaluma today?
I was curious.
Okay. Curious about what?
I had chatted with someone online. She had asked to meet me on several occasions. I declined. Then today again she asked. I had a little bit of time, not very much.
Okay.
And and so I thought I would come out and meet her and nothing more.
Okay.
The doctor is referring to how online he made a date for sex with a decoy, but chickened out. Then the decoy, deliberately behaving like a precocious teenager, encouraged him to come.
I know she was young, and I know that...
Under 18?
Sure.
Okay. Did you talk to her about touching and kissing and making each other feel good?
I remember she saying that she had trouble finding somebody to make her feel good.
Okay.
I was playing with her.
In fact, what he said online was, "I work hard to make the girl feel good. I wouldn't stop until you blank over and over."
And then you told her, no, I'm real, but you're under 18 and I'm over. We would have to be so careful.
I don't remember saying that, but I told her that she needed to be... I was concerned about her. She needed to be careful.
Okay.
The only reason I came today, I was curious, but I wasn't going to do anything. And if you read that, you can tell that over and over again I said that, well, I shouldn't come, she should be careful.
You're talking about that you want her to take her pants off. You can take mine off if you want. So how do you want to do it?
I wasn't going to do anything. It was that was not appropriate. Officer Nelson, I shouldn't have talked to her. Right. I wasn't going to do anything.
So you drove 40 minutes from Piedmont to meet a 13-year-old. That nothing would have happened. And you expect me to believe that? After you talk about having different sexual acts with her?
It's the truth. She begged me to come. And I know that doesn't make it right, but
All right, the time's approximately 14:38. I'm going to conclude the interview.
can I call my mom?
I'll walk you over to the trailer.
Once he's taken out of the interrogation room, an officer dials the doctor's wife and hands him the phone.
Honey, I'm in big trouble. I'll explain. You have to bail me out of the Sonoma County Jail. $30,000 check, no need. It was a sting operation. I'll explain it to you when you're here. Don't bring the girls. I didn't do anything, but I did something stupid.
His research, his marriage, like all these elements of his life that were just immediately thrown to shit. I wasn't gonna do anything. Yeah, so as soon as you're arrested, it doesn't matter what you say. Like, when cops look at you with intent, like, you're going to jail. If a cop suspects you of a crime, like an actual crime, you're going to jail. Good luck talking your way out of getting arrested. Like, it's not within the scope of a police officer's job to decide whether you did something or not. Like, the police officer is just gonna say, I saw you do this. Like they're not the person who actually decides. It's going to be a judge or a jury who's going to actually decide the guilt or innocence of your actions. So it's kind of funny. He must have known a certain amount about the United States legal system. He goes into how he'd never been in trouble before, but even if you had never been personally arrested, like, anyone who's a doctor, you have to work within the law. Like, there's a lot of legal shit within the medical field that you have to adhere to, like certain regulations and like regulatory boards. So he must have a very good understanding of the law as it relates to medicine, but it seems that he's woefully fucking unprepared for even like a basic fucking lesson in criminal defense.
On the ground.
I wasn't gonna do anything.
On the ground.
And this is great. That's one of the most hilarious fucking images in all of TCAP, I think. Here we have a fucking cancer doctor, a person who probably made about maybe $200,000 or $300,000 a year. Someone who was within a small percentage of the population who easily breaks six figures consistently. And here we have him fucking face down one glass, right? That would just be one fucking metaphorical piece of his life that's fallen apart. But we have him, these two cops, and then this other guy just pointing down. This must have been an extremely uncomfortable position too. Like, this dude's lanky ass arms are just being shoved down. He probably posed very little physical threat, and the officers must have known that this guy was not going to be someone who was going to fight. I mean, even if he tried to fight, like he's not very strong, so he could be easily subdued by like one officer. But aside from just how physically weak he is, he's also a fucking doctor. Like a doctor is so unlikely to like engage in a behavior that's going to get them fired. Well, obviously, right, from what he did, but even in engaging with violence, like doctors are probably far more unlikely to just like engage in a bar fight, because even something as seemingly benign as a bar fight, like that could lead to you losing your medical license. And if you lose your medical license, you've just wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars and countless hours of your life. So it's like these dudes who have or anybody who has a professional career, like fuck, that makes me think about me. Like I want to be a lawyer. I am studying for the LSAT right now, and it's like these videos I make. I guess law schools and other like eventual clients could see these fucking videos and like have a negative impression. It's whatever, I guess. But yeah, that's just the reality of like work likely to just like engage in a bar easily breaks six figures considered. It's going to be a judge or a jury boards, so he must have a very good understanding of the law as it relates to medicine, but it seems that he's woefully fucking unprepared for even like a basic fucking lesson in criminal defense.
On the ground.
I wasn't gonna do anything.
On the ground.
And this is great. That's one of the most hilarious fucking images in all of TCAP, I think. Here we have a fucking cancer doctor, a person who probably made about maybe $200,000 or $300,000 a year, someone who was within a small percentage of the population who easily breaks six figures consistently. And here we have him fucking faced at one glass, right? That would just be one fucking metaphorical piece of his life that's fallen apart. But we have him, these two cops, and then this other guy just pointing down. This must have been an extremely uncomfortable position too. Like this dude's lanky ass arms are just being shoved down. He probably posed very little physical threat, and the officers must have known that this guy was not going to be someone who was going to fight. I mean, even if he tried to fight, like he's not very strong, so he could be easily subdued by like one officer. But aside from just how physically weak he is, he's also a fucking doctor. Like a doctor is so unlikely to like engage in a behavior that's going to get them fired. Well, obviously, right, from what he did, but even in engaging with violence, like doctors are probably far more unlikely to just like engage in a bar fight, because even something as seemingly benign as a bar fight, like that could lead to you losing your medical license. And if you lose your medical license, you've just wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars and countless hours of your life. So it's like these dudes who have or anybody who has a professional career, like fuck, that makes me think about me. Like I want to be a lawyer. I am studying for the LSAT right now, and it's like these videos I make. I guess law schools and other like eventual clients could see these fucking videos and like have a negative impression. It's whatever, I guess. But yeah, that's just the reality of like working in a professional field like this.
Get his keys.
I wasn't doing anything.
I wasn't doing anything.
Man, I wasn't doing anything.
Get his keys.
I wasn't doing
He's breaking down.
And
He
like all
can't
the
even
other
handle
men
it.
caught in this investigation, from used car salesmen to engineers to Marines, he goes through the same procedure.
He is
First
tripping.
stop, the booking station.
What am I being booked for?
Physiologically, he must be undergoing such extreme stress. The back of his neck is probably very fucking hot. He's probably starting to sweat. He's probably starting to sweat under his armpits. We can't really see. He probably has goosebumps. He's right now going into a state of shock that is probably something that he's never experienced before in his life.
Call my wife.
You can do that after this booking procedure.
That's why he wants to. I mean, I guess it's actually sad that his first instinct is to call his wife. It's like, dude, you're exactly like you're married. This is a betrayal on two levels. Not only are you betraying society by trying to have sex with someone who's a 13-year-old, you're betraying your wife and your marriage. That's fucked. And the fact that the first thought that he has is, oh, let me go run back to my wife to save this. That just
Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. We're still kind of recovering from PowerCon, but we're going to talk about the comic book industry and all these crazy rumors around Valiant Comics apparently, possibly getting sold off. And we're talking about, the major shakeup with DC Comics that some people outside of YouTube are saying that they think that DC might just ditch monthly books completely. Imagine that. And the fact that, DC dropped comics from its URL, which some people, did point out, Detective Comics doesn't make sense. But we're going to talk about Valiant and how I believe they should bring Jim Shooter back as a consultant. If not with Valiant, then at Marvel or someplace, because Jim Shooter probably could course correct the mainstream comic book industry pretty damn quick if he was interested in doing it. In fact, getting money for quality comics is very easy today as long as you're giving consumers what they want. Look at crowdfunding. I mean, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Speaking of fishing, I have to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, Fishing Clash. Fishing Clash is a free multiplayer fishing game chosen by millions of anglers that brings fishing and life together. Yeah, I know you guys don't like sponsored posts all that much, but sponsorships help keep us bringing you more daily content, so please consider checking out the app if you're a fishing fan. If you're willing to give it a try, use our gift code CLOWNFISH, that's CLOWNFISH, to get a special reward for a total value of $20. This is available for new players only. With this gift code, you'll get a 3-star rod, 1 mythical lure, it's a dolphin fish, I ruined that for you, 50 luck power-ups, and 30 weight power-ups to help you catch bigger fish. Here's how to redeem your code. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. First, open the settings on the app, then click on gift codes, and then enter the code. Again, that code is CLOWNFISH. I wonder why. Anyway, let's do some fishing. I haven't gone fishing in years, but I used to fish with my grandfather and my stepdad. I always wound up throwing the fish back because I didn't have the guts to gut it. Like, I didn't want to gut a fish. My wife would be very proud, though. You don't have to gut a virtual fish, so there's a bonus. So let's cast. Boss fight? God, it's got like 19,000, 18,000 hit points. They've got hit points. The fish have hit points. This is like, it's like an RPG, and I'm not tapping fast enough. I don't know if I'm gonna get it. I don't know if nice one. I got a shark. I got a nosy shark. So Fishing Clash lets you travel all around the world and fish in different locations and fish from a shore or a boat on the go with a device in your pocket. You can upgrade your rods and lures to compete with other fishers in order to catch the biggest fish and upgrade your skills for even more advanced fishing. Oh, there are weekly competitions too. Maybe you can master the bass. See what I did there? I don't know. Anyway, tip to CCG for sending this over. A couple days ago, Bleeding Cool reported that there are a bunch of layoffs and resignations going on at Valiant. Of course, Valiant is a comic book company founded in the 90s by the legendary Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter, who was the EIC of Marvel during one of their most successful eras. Jim Shooter is the name I came to associate most closely with Marvel Comics growing up. Jim Shooter is from Pittsburgh. A lot of hard asses in Pittsburgh. Who love comics, right? But Jim Shooter, I think, would absolutely be able to right the ship at Valiant if given the chance. But I don't know what's going on here. They're apparently going to sell the company off. I don't know. Let's see. Layoffs and resignations reported at Valiant. The future is uncertain. Of course, current year Valiant Comics is just, I don't even know what the hell it is anymore. I love Valiant Comics back in the 90s. Harbinger and Turok Dinosaur Hunter and Magnus Robot Fighter and all these great comics that really felt like early 80s Marvel stuff, but in the 90s. And I remember a lot of people when those comics came out were kind of like, this art's really dated. It doesn't look like Todd McFarlane. But no, I love those comics. I thought they were great. And again, that was Jim Shooter. That's what Jim Shooter could do. And we need a Jim Shooter to try to save comics. There is significant concern within the comic book industry tonight. You could just end it there, Rich. And we're going to talk about that because, again, we have Valerie D'Orazio talking about what happens when DC stops publishing books, but we'll continue talking about Valiant. Over the status of New York-based comic book publisher Valiant Entertainment. In recent weeks, there's been concern expressed regarding the timeliness of payments to freelance comic book creators, but that sadly is not a unique issue among some comic book publishers. That's actually, I'm going to tell you the truth, as someone who worked as a freelance comic book creator for a number of years. When the payments start coming later and later, or when they, God forbid, stop coming at all, that is a sign that this company is in trouble, that they're going to go belly up soon. Sometimes soon is relative. I did a lot of work. I talked about this with IDW, and they were having financial problems going back to 2014, 2015. And I think that's back when they were starting to funnel a bunch of money into Hollywood stuff. But I know it took me to get paid for the last couple of covers I did for them, it took me like 3 or 4 months to get paid. And at the time, I had an agent. We had the agent trying to get me paid, and they weren't even responding to him. It was crazy. Anyway, if you're not getting paid in a decent amount of time, I think for a publisher is 30 to 45 days. If you're not getting paid from a major publisher for more than like 45 days, there are potentially problems. There's a cash flow problem. Valiant publisher Fred Pierce's Facebook status reads, worked at Valiant, past tense. He worked at Valiant as the director and VP of manufacturing and operations from 1990 to 94, was COO and president of Wizard from 94 to 2008, and publisher of Valiant from 2011 to the present. Valiant Entertainment senior editor Lisa Hawkins joined Valiant in 2018, was promoted in 2020. Former senior editor at Valiant. Valiant sales communication coordinator Cody White, who only joined in April of this year, has updated his status. Former sales communication coordinator. These are the only current employees we can find who have updated their public employment status. Of course, if you're a freelancer, you're probably working for multiple companies on multiple projects, or whatever. You might have an NDA. You're not allowed to talk about it. As it stands, no one is responding to inquiries publicly. And while we haven't been able to speak to everyone, Bleeding Cool has, as of yet, been able to identify anyone at Valiant who has not been laid off or not resigned. Wait, run this by me again. Bleeding Cool has, as of yet, been unable to identify anyone at Valiant who has not been laid off or not resigned. Oh, Valiant Entertainment as a publisher has also not returned emails sent earlier today, but we're not sure who would be left around to do so. Well, maybe they stopped paying the internet hosting bill. Maybe they don't have email anymore. Maybe they're not paying Google anymore. Valiant was founded in '89 by Jim Shooter, who actually could run this shit. They filed for bankruptcy. Lots and lots of incarnations of Valiant, Acclaim Comics, whatever you want to call it. The company was restarted by, I am going to attempt to pronounce his name, Dinesh Shamdasani and Jason Cathari in 2005. Again, they wanted to do Hollywood stuff. As I understand it, they were all about the Hollywood. They revived the non-gold key titles and introduced new ones like Faith, Divinity Rapture, and Punk Mamba. I think Faith is the one, wasn't it? The heavyset girl that could fly. I think that's what that was. In 2015, Valiant announced that they had partnered with Sony Pictures to produce 5 films based on both Bloodshot and Harbinger. Bloodshot was god-awful, and it failed. The first of which was released in 2016. Chinese investment firm DMG announced a 9-figure investment into the company and its properties. Again, very much like IDW, very much like Dark Horse, it was all about chasing movie deals because, I guess it's just not enough to publish comics these days. DMG exercised an option to buy Valiant out entirely, led by LA-based executive Dan Mintz. Most former Valiant executives were shown the door and set up their own new comic book publisher together, Bad Idea Comics, using a number of creators familiar to Valiant. And then the pandemic was hard on Valiant, and they had to put down their pencils. Remember that? That was awful for some people. Some people got to keep working. Some people actually made more money than they've ever made in comics during the pandemic. But a lot of people who are freelancing for these companies were told to stop working on comics. So last year they had emerged from the shutdown with a regular set of titles, fewer than before. Cullen Bunn's doing some stuff. What publisher was out of the Cullen Bunn business? Was that DC? They have Exo Manowar coming out. They're positive moves, but now nothing. So now they're saying that Dynish here might buy back Valiant. It appears the NDA agreements are strong with Valiant. Yesterday, Blaine Cool reported on major issues with multiple reports of layoffs and resignations. While nobody's talking to Bleeding Cool, I'm led to understand he remains with the comic book publisher. That'd be Fred Pierce. So that's one person there. Valiant is not over, but it's going through a major transition. Again, former CEO Dynish, Shamdasani, I think it's Shamdasani, was forced out by the current owners, and he is apparently trying to buy it back. So there's a concern from Valiant NFT buyers has also been prominent with the maintenance and promised delivery of the NFTs. Talking again about Jim Shooter. Why don't they just hire Jim Shooter? Just hire Jim Shooter. So, Dynish here supposedly has his own comic book company, Bad Idea Comics, but he might be tempted to take Valiant back. I think if he does, he should hire Jim Shooter. I think what they need to do, and I think more comic book companies need to do this, and I want to bring in a little bit of discussion about DC Comics and everything that's going on right now with DC Comics and with David Zaslav and this restructuring. Because I think that a lot of comic creators' careers at DC Comics are going to be cut short. I think they've been living on borrowed time, and comics are kind of a luxury item, I think, for a company like Warner Brothers. And, we've been saying for years, other YouTubers have been saying for years, Ethan Van Sciver's been saying it, and he used to work for DC, that there is going to come a day when whoever owns Warner Brothers or DC is going to say, you know what, it does not make sense to publish these comic books anymore, or at least not monthly. It doesn't make sense. Let's just job it out to somebody else, right? And I think we're getting close to that day. I mean, when we're seeing David Zaslav acts movies that are almost complete, like Batgirl, whatever the reason is, whether it's financial or the movie was just a train wreck, or yes, what makes you think he's going to gloss over the comic books? We have a whole division of people pumping out comic books, but do we really need to have a comic book publisher? Why don't we just outsource the IP to somebody else? Somebody else can set up shop. They can just publish comic books, a smaller business, and they just pay us for the license, and they can make Batman, Superman comics, Wonder Woman comics, whatever they want to do. It's on them. They pay for the license. It's on them what they do with them, and it's not our problem anymore. We've got decades and decades and decades of stories we can strip mine, and anymore they just kind of make this stuff up whole cloth. Same story I heard at Disney. I heard from somebody that worked with Disney Publishing Worldwide about 5 years ago, and people said I was insane because they can't imagine a time where there wouldn't be any Marvel comics from Marvel. But Disney was actually considering jobbing out the Marvel comics to licensees, because they do that with everything else. Pixar and Disney Princesses and every other Disney IP, they just job the comics out to somebody else, and they don't have to worry about it. Then they just hire brand managers to kind of oversee the comics. And the word was that Disney was seriously considering just jobbing out Marvel Comics, especially since this was around 2016, 2017. Things were not going well for them. We know the Axel Alonso story and everything went bad. And I was told that they were seriously considering it because they didn't want to deal with the PR black eyes. They didn't want to deal with the dwindling sales. It just was a huge, huge mess. They were getting a lot of negative press from mainstream media outlets that Marvel was in trouble. At least the comics were in trouble in 2017. So they were going to job everything out. And they tried it. They tried it with IDW. They kind of tested them. They gave them a couple books. They gave them Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Captain America, whatever. And they dropped the ball. And, but I think if the right publisher came along, now what would be really interesting, honestly, is if somebody like Valiant got the DC license and they put somebody like Jim Shooter in charge. That would be really interesting. And I think if anything, one of these companies, whether it's a DC or Marvel, should consider at least hiring him as a consultant. We saw that David Zaslav pulled Alan Horn out of retirement to consult on the future of the DC movies. If they were actually serious about the comic books, or whoever had the license, whether it's DC or Marvel, whatever's going to happen, find the people who were successful at selling comics and pick their brain. For God's sake, throw money at them. It's worth it. Find these people. Why is John Byrne not doing X-Men when he's doing X-Men on his own? And the X-Men he's doing as a quote-unquote fan comic is infinitely better than what is being produced by Marvel right now. In fact, I had a friend of mine tell me that I think it was at San Diego that Chris Claremont was getting some jabs in about how bad the X-Men books are right now. Find the people that made the X-Men super successful, who oversaw that, and for God's sake, just bring them in and see if they can't course correct, before it's too late. I mean, I think it already is too late, basically, for mainstream comics, floppy comics, but at least if you're going to go down fighting. I would definitely see if you couldn't bring in Jim Shooter, but hopefully whatever happens with Valiant, they have the good sense to go back to basics, to go back to what Shooter tried to do, which, bring some of his editorial sensibilities to Valiant. Because what I've seen the last couple of years from Valiant is just like, what's this shit? This is like something that like Black Mask would put out or something. I mean, look, there's, I'm sure, a small market for books like that, but, these are potentially huge IP. I mean, Turok Dinosaur Hunter sold a shit ton of video games back in the day. They were making movies of Valiant characters. They could turn Valiant into something huge, but you need the right people in charge, and you need the right stories, and they just don't have it. Valiant just doesn't have it. And I don't know what the hell's going on, but there we go, guys. Just kind of my thoughts on the whole situation. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more comic book news. We'll talk later. Just wanted to thank Fishing Clash again for sponsoring this video. You can download the app through the link below. Remember to use gift code CLOWNFISH. We'll talk to you later.
What is up, everyone? I just got back from another day in the warehouse. We officially have every single concept art book back and boarded, stored in our bins. Right now, as I mentioned before, in August, we're going to be spending a lot of time, most of August, not all of it, but most of it, just prep work, making sure we get ready, have all the supplies, everything that we need so we can go into the latter half of August, into September. Fulfillment is going to be smooth. That's what we want to do. So we're getting all the prep work done right now, and I had a great day. And big shout out to my partners that came through and got paid to help out in the warehouse. As an update, $39,350 total purchases. We got 3.384 in terms of total revenue. Insane. Closing in on 3.4 million. So thank you all for the support. You can still get cover C, as well as hats and all sorts of other items as well. I do want to talk to you all about something. One of the greatest straw men, of course, this is a tweet that by Twitter standards goes viral, despite it not making any damn sense. But that's the nature of the website, which is why I tell you guys, don't take it so seriously, because it can often fool you into thinking that this is an adopted position by the majority of certain folks. I think a lot of companies have made the grave mistake of using websites like Twitter to make decisions on the direction that you're going to go in, even though that does not represent the majority of, let's say, potential customers. Let's go ahead and show you all right here. This tweet says, woman equals woke, talented equals Mary Sue, black equals political, gay equals agenda. When will this brand of film criticism end? I'm tired. And someone says it's like we're going backwards, because if the movie came out today, and he's pointing to Catwoman, Halle Berry, I guess, saying it wouldn't just be it's just a bad movie. It would be it's woke, PC garbage, go woke, go broke, Catwoman, or whatever BS they keep spouting. Like this character, we see resourceful and ambitious. She trains the entire movie. We learn something constantly, blah, blah, blah. You'll always have to suspend disbelief a bit for one human versus predator, but it was done. But no, woke, they say. I want to address this. My name often gets mentioned with these types of people who say stuff like these. These aren't terms that I regularly use. They point to guys like myself in our content videos to say, hey, this is representative of that. And because these people don't ever bother to listen to anything any of us say, but I'll make it more personable to me, they don't listen to what I say. They'll say things like this. So, hey, you criticize something that has a black person in it, like this guy saying you were political, or you're saying that it is political, or something like that. And then they'll deem you as a racist or whatever. That's never been the case. And I can see where some people actually don't believe that. They just need an argument to be true because they've made it up in their head. But there's also people that are just very, very stupid, which is why when I launched my own comic book company, you had folks that were like, well, I thought that when there's a black character, that it was woke or something. They're watching their arguments be diffused and they don't know what to do. So some of them are just very, very stupid, but others just, they need it to be true. But to those, I guess, that don't ever listen, let me put you on game. There's a difference between a female existing in a comic book, or excuse me, in this case, they're talking about film criticism. So in a film or something of that nature, and then someone saying that there is some sort of social preference or agenda that is being prioritized and it made for a bad movie. Okay? There's a difference between that. This idea that people just take issue with, let's say, there being a woman there, and people just thinking that, well, there's a woman in a movie and therefore it equals woke. It's not the argument. That's being very disingenuous. Again, it's one thing for, let's say, you take something like Birds of Prey, I think, is a great example of this, that movie. You can go watch my long form review of that, and I broke everything down. I even gave you the history of the Birds of Prey. They, oddly enough, Ewan McGregor, who's the actor in that movie, actually went on the campaign trail mentioning about how this was this like feminist type of film that was addressing misogyny and stuff like that. They said that. Now, we know how Hollywood works. It's more than likely something that they agreed to, you know, as they're going on the promotional tour. This was what, and we covered these different attempts. This is stuff that they were doing on the campaign trail for the movie. So they would do highlighted interviews and mention stuff like that, okay? Now, if the movie itself confirms that, it confirms that. But even for the sake of argument, if it didn't, you can certainly understand why someone would, I don't know, take their word for that when they're just saying that this is what this film is going to be about. And it'd be par for the course for what's happening in this era. So if I criticize that, and I had my criticism of it, which had nothing to do with, for the most part, you know, I looked at like what they did to Kane, and I was like, man, this is criminal what they did to her. So I had my criticisms outside of that, and I was going to bat for the characters that were there because I thought the adaptation was poor. Female characters at that. If you bother to actually listen to what some of your people that you deem as your ideological enemies, you'd be surprised how much sense that they actually make. Yes. Are there outliers? Of course. But we know who they're referring to, and certainly this idea, even just as commentators or people that are being critics of it or criticizing it online, a significant portion of those people that criticize that are not folks that are criticizing it solely because, let's say, movie has woman in it. And a woman doesn't become a Mary Sue just because that person's talented. Like, look at that. That's what this person said. Talented equals Mary Sue. Who the hell is saying that? These people make these arguments up or think that this is the position that other folks have, and they just throw it out there. But that's not the case. What are you talking about? Sure, if that woman's perfect in the movie, then yeah, has little to no flaws, yeah, they're going to call her that. If there's a movie that, let's say, in the name of like homosexuality or whatever, because this person did say something about gay equals agenda, but let's say if it's hyper-emphasized or there was swaps where they made characters that weren't gay, gay, and then they hyper-emphasized it, and they went on a campaign trail talking about that for the movie, all the promotional items, then yeah, some people may say there's some sort of agenda. Hell, in some cases where they flat out admitted that. We covered Disney and their all hands on deck sort of meeting that they had, and they had that chick that was doing movies for them saying that my not so secret gay agenda or whatever it is she said. Look, man, there's things that we can easily point to. We don't have to reach. That shows exactly what a lot of us are talking about. But some people are, well, let's just say this, they insist that folks are making arguments that they simply are not. And that could be for a number of different reasons. One could be because they are wrongfully assuming and they just aren't actually listening, and the others are just bad actors that need that to be true. So despite the evidence being presented to them to the contrary, they're still going to say that it equals something that it's not. Look, this is why I continue to say that there's a big time need for these alternatives, these idiots that, when you look at like mainstream entertainment, the people that shield for that sort of stuff and go to bat for that sort of stuff, they are politically and politically consumed, and they can't see a world in which exists outside of that. So what needs to happen in order for, from a cultural perspective, us to get on the other side is that has to dinosaur that is the mainstream sort of industry. It's outdated, archaic anyway, probably needs to go away. And let's see what the alternatives can do and what creative things that they can do. I've been blessed to be in a position that I'm in, for you guys to have come, show your support for me. I thank you so much, but it can't be just myself, and it's not something that is exclusive to comics. We need this everywhere. We need alternatives everywhere. People that just want to make good material, and they don't hate their customers and certainly won't gaslight them. What up? This is going to be a good one. Before I get started, though, of course, I have to thank all of my wonderful customers. Thank you, man. You see the number is getting crazy. We have some new items that we're going to be adding to the campaign as well. You can still get in. As of me recording this video, we are closing in on the cap that will be for cover A and cover B. So if you have not gotten that, you need to get in on it. We also announced tomorrow, Wednesday, that is the 20th. I believe 5 p.m. was the date that we had settled on. No more signed copies of anything. You guys are going to kill my hand. So we have to kind of do our cutoff there. So get in where you fit in. Again, thanks to you all for the continued support. But we have an update as well over at River vs. Comics YouTube. You might want to go check that out. That update is very, very important to what it is that we are certainly doing, recapping everything that has happened over the last week. We will be, of course, doing our continued content series. But this stuff that we're going to talk about today, look, guys, we knew that this was going to happen. As I continue to say, this is stuff that I anticipated, that I knew was going to happen. And hopefully you did as well. But they couldn't ignore it. There were access media types that are still trying to ignore it. And that's fine. We don't answer to them. That's the point of what it is that we are doing. I'd much rather the alternatives anyway cover it and get that news out there, because it is kind of embodying everything that we're trying to build here. But this was an interesting one that I'm going to show you that has some passive aggressive kind of stuff that is laced into it. Written by, of course, the Bleeding Cool, which they say things that you kind of expect for folks to say on that side of covering like the industry and comic books and what have you. Now, the guy that wrote this, Rich Johnston, I got an email from a Rich Johnston about interviewing me or having a chat. It was very unprofessional, and it was at Gmail, so I don't know if it was actually him or if it was a troll or whatever it was. But we did get that. However, when I knew who it was, I ain't falling for any of that bait. Not happening. But let's read what Mr. Rich Johnston had to say. Says Eric D. July. First of all, this is the title. Eric D. July gets 30,000 orders worth $2.5 million for non-woke comic. Eric D. July is a libertarian contributor to the conservative network Blaze TV, founded by Glenn Beck. And when he had a comic book to crowdfund, they were happy to highlight this to their readers and viewers and to label it non-woke. I've realized that I can't stop people from calling it crowdfund because we took the vision of what it has historically looked like. So it's not that, because generally when you think crowdfund, you think this is funding the project, and that's not really what's happening. I just took the vision and the transparency of the crowdfund and put it on my own website. Though it's already been funded, I don't need to finish anything. We just need to get stuff printed and we're good to go. Everything's already done. First book's already done. Woke is defined as being aware of injustice in society, especially but not limited to racism, which doesn't seem anything that most people would be opposed to, especially superhero comics, which would seem to be all about fighting injustice. But I guess welcome to the internet. Look, I certainly understand that people are going to use that term to make it mean what they want to mean, no matter what side of that they're on, which is why it's very important to define your terms before you actually argue with anybody. That is a very important part of the argumentation. Now, I do think this is an insane way to define woke and then to act like people are opposed to it. See, this is the disingenuous kind of way that they operate. They all define it in their own way. And even if you're operating on a completely different definition, they present themselves as the good guys, the opposition as the bad guys. If you oppose what is woke, then what are you doing? But this whole idea that is being woke is being defined as being aware of injustice in terms of how we, when someone says they are in opposition to it, that's very disingenuous, because there are plenty of people that would call themselves not woke in terms of how the definition that they're operating on. And of course, they have no problem acknowledging injustices that exist. Continuing on, the comic book I Some is written by July, drawn by Cliff Richards, colored by Gabe El Taib, and lettered by Eric Weathers, and is intended to launch a new multi-book comics universe, the Rippaverse. I Some is described as telling the story of a superhero who has come out of retirement. Avery's sister, this is quoting from it, Avery's sister Altona gives him a call and wants him to visit an old friend by the name of Darren Fontano, another family friend. Well, this is the synopsis. That's a quote, which sounds a bit like tackling injustice to society. He ends. By the way, you got it wrong. This isn't necessarily something like, I don't want to say you got it wrong. Let me say this. Appreciate your theories and all of that. But the story isn't about him coming out of retirement per se. That's not what it is. I am just catching the audience up to the point to where the book is being told, you know what I mean? Because obviously there's events that happened before the book, which will be told at a later date. But yeah, it's not about, this isn't really that's not what the synopsis says or anything. And of course he ends it with the snarky comment, which sounds a bit like tackling injustice in society to me, by basically saying, hey, I define woke as this way, and therefore is your book actually non-woke? Because this synopsis sounds like tackling injustice, which again, that's not even actually what it says when you read the short story or wherever part, I think maybe the campaign story or wherever you quote it, that's not what it even says. It just basically says, hey, Altona called I Some, aka Avery Silman, wants him to visit an old friend, and things have changed since then, considering his old friend is grown, and that's what you got for the most part. You don't have any idea what's going on. Either way, appreciate the theories though. That's what comic book stuff is all about. Either way, the non-woke label saw the story picked up by Fox News and the New York Post, which have helped spread the cry further, and the revenue already in 6 figures soon went into 7 figures. Almost 30,000 pre-orders worth over $2.5 million. That is a remarkable achievement for a new comic book company right off the bat, no matter who promoted it. Though the price for a 96-page comic of $35 plus 10 shipping might seem a bit on the high side, if it wasn't for the virtue signaling possibilities. First of all, in any sort of market, if that is what the going rate is, and certainly the folks are willing to pay for it, that's not necessarily for you to determine either way. However, this is not a cheaply printed book. I do not have several deals with various printers all around the world. This is not being printed in China, actually, either. So this is the going rate for a book that I wanted of a solid quality. I thought this was really to be fair, and I even compared it to other folks that were doing their own kind of independent comics, not talking about like the non-big, talking about big comic book companies that are big, but they just simply aren't DC or Marvel. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about guys that are really starting from the ground up. I thought that was fair, considering that it was a 96-page comic, and we, of course, in the future will work the best to our abilities to get it to as cheap as we possibly can and affordable to the audience. However, this idea that, there was something fundamentally wrong with that price, or it's a high, and if it wasn't for the virtue signaling possibilities, look, people want to pay for it. People are enthusiastic about it, and that's just the going rate. Eric D. July wants to create a long-standing collectible comic book universe for the Rippaverse. He might want to try and bring some economics of scale into play, or risk bankrupting his followers. Even today's comic inflation, or with comic book inflation, a 96-page comic usually sells for 10 to 12 from a comic book shop. Well, again, that depends on various things. How old is it? Is it repackaged stories? Where was it printed? So many. You want to talk about economics of scale, Rich? There's so many different things that go certainly into that to get a 96-page book down to a $10 to $12. Who is putting it out? Is it someone that has multiple deals that baked into it with these various printers that are in China and all of that? All that has to go certainly in it. The quality of the paper, all that goes into that price. So this idea that it's just, it just usually goes for this. Yeah, coming from who? When you talk about who's selling it to the comic shops. I will say this: there have been several retailers that have reached out to us that have no problem paying, the deal, which they get a nice deal on it as they are expected, so they can make their profit. And even in cutting it in half, they had no issues paying that at all. So there's that, even knowing what the going rate is on our individual store. But it's amazing how folks like this, considering the state of the comic book industry, would dare to, instead of like, hey, look at all these people that are enthusiastic about a book that they're willing to spend $35 on. Talk about bankrupting customers, definitely, as we do this and it grows. Like this idea that people don't have $35 of disposable income. Some people don't, and those people just simply cannot. They can't afford it. And yeah, I would love to get it down to a price point where even more people could certainly afford it. But to act like after you have acknowledged almost 30,000 people, or 30,000 purchasers rather, like they don't have the disposable income. People will spend that on a night at the movies, with their family. They'll spend more than that often. They'll spend more than that on a shirt. This idea that, bankrupting customers, no, they told you they're willing to pay for it. So what are you talking about? Bankrupting the customers. Man, if the industry looked to some of these models, maybe artists wouldn't be broke, having to beg for money, having to chase down their money from various companies. You hear even publications that are going out of business right now or having to scale down significantly because they can't keep up. And I've paid my people that work for myself very well, including the contractors, even more than the going rate for them, for the big guys. And we are going to continue to do that in the future. So everybody benefits, my artists, and everybody's going to be taken care of to the best of certainly my ability. And instead of looking at it like that, well, this money being brought in means certainly exactly what I just told you: more opportunities, more jobs that are very well paying, including and especially artists, writers even, that want to work for us, and we'll have the money to be able to pay them. We've shown you that people are willing to pay exactly that, bankrupting customers is not something that I'm interested in doing. But I certainly, because I want artists to be paid, maybe you should look at this model and ask me, as far as instead of trying to tell me what the going rate is or how I'm going to bankrupt customers, maybe you should be asking me how we were able to convince folks that it was certainly worth that and what that money means for the people that are working on this. Because Eric is indeed thinking long term and has a code of ethics for his publishing plans, which can be summed up as no multiverses, no time travel, an official continuity timeline. It's funny that you left the part out about respecting the customer, which was number one on that. So I am not entirely sure these count as ethics. Well, that's exactly what they are. But with multiversal storylines sprawling across different media recently, this might be a real measurable point of difference for the Rippaverse rather than the more ephemeral non-woke, okay? Though less likely to get Fox News headlines. So that's not my problem. It's funny. That's, again, it's kind of passive-aggressive kind of jab. Well, there's other people basically doing it, but they wouldn't get covered by Fox News. That's not my problem at all. It's not like I'm getting covered by a lot of the big guys and the mainstream access folks, as I mentioned at the beginning of this. So it is what it is. But if that's something that they want, well, go for it. Maybe figure that out. Oh, and keeping reboots to a minimum, though, that is not exactly Plato either. That's the thing. Who said that I was trying to do that? Like, respecting the customer is something that is fairly basic, but these are things that I want my audience to be able to hold me to. You act like I'm attempting to reinvent the wheel, even though I've never presented a code of ethics, my code of ethics, as that. In the past, this kind of acclamation from a publisher yet to publish their first comic book has been seen as putting the cart before the horse, but it does acknowledge his ambition. Here's the thing. I don't give a shit. I think people get it twisted as far as what it is that we're attempting to do. And this comes from other creatives, I'll use that term loosely because they have their way that they've been doing everything in the comic book industry. And maybe they didn't see the success that they thought, or they think I'm seeing success way too fast, so I got people way too enthusiastic about it. So they look at it like, well, you're not going through the proper channels, and you're not doing this, and that. Here's the thing. The point of why I kept it independent as I am, and the whole point of what it is that we're doing, I talk about the parallel economy and all that we're trying to build here. The whole point of that is so I don't have to answer to you, and I don't have to do what you think maybe is more righteous. That's your business. If you want to implement that in your own business model, that's fine. But me having those ambitions and delivering, that's not my first creative project. I've delivered on everything else it is that I've certainly done in the past. That's exactly what it is. Now, if that's something you wouldn't do, you don't want to put yourself out there, you think it's putting the cart before your horse, go there. That's your business. That ain't got shit to do with me. Eric Gilad also told The Blaze, I'm not in the business of lecturing people and telling people exactly how to live their lives, but there are universal truths that I will acknowledge, and I think that's what's sort of missing because people have, unfortunately, definitely in comic books these days, put other stuff at the forefront, and telling a good story is secondary. Now, acknowledging those truths are secondary if they are acknowledged at all. This does seem to be in conflict. What is important, telling a good story or acknowledging universal truths? Both. I don't have to sacrifice one or the other. So when we talk about universal truths, like I mentioned in that interview with Blaze, what is just, what is right, which you just used the term kind of injustice. So apparently, there is some universal truths in those elements. I can tell a good story while acknowledging those truths. There's no contradiction or anything there. And if it's truths, and truths are universal, do they need to be acknowledged? Yes. Hell, we live in this bizarre world where people think they can up and switch reality, no matter how long it's been as exactly that. And we deal with this and that. You certainly deal with that in the political arena all the time. People just simply not acknowledging the truth. So I don't understand where it is that you're coming from and like, oh, well, if there are universal truths and they do need to be acknowledged, you know what I mean? Are they already acknowledged? Some people don't. That's simple as that. It's a truth. It's universal. And even they might understand that it's that. But that doesn't necessarily stop people from saying, you know what, I'm just going to completely ignore that or say that the world is something that it simply is not. We deal with that all the time. And if someone thinks those truths aren't universal and doesn't believe in that, isn't calling something a universal truth and putting it at the forefront of the story lecturing? Questions I've loved to ask. Well, these are moronic questions I would ask. I would say that, but again, it's a very simple answer. The truth is the truth, no matter whether or not that you want to certainly acknowledge that. That's just what it is. If you want to say that it's not the case, that doesn't stop it from being the truth. And me acknowledging something is certainly different from maybe lecturing per se somebody on something. Definitely when we talk about that in the creative sense. When you use that term lecture in the creative sense, you're more so referring to, you know, they're not, I want to say diametrically opposed, mutually exclusive, whatever you want to call it that. It's more so, it's different from telling a good story as opposed to actually beating your audience over the head or lecturing. I'm not in the business of lecturing, but I absolutely can acknowledge universal truths. Historically, storytellers have been able to do that all the time. Again, I'm not reinventing the wheel, but it seems like this guy's trying to find something wrong with what it is that I'm saying, and he's trying to pretend like I'm trying to reinvent the wheel, even though that's never what I've ever stated. The Blaze also refers to July, saying that Rippaverse Comics will also be a place where content creators, artists, writers, and anyone else in the comic book industry who feels alienated by big corporations can come to tell stories without fear of censorship or judgment. And now he's quoting me. There are a lot of creative people that are
This guy's coming in. That could be the doctor.
But if there was a list of the most respected members of the community, a cancer research doctor would probably be near the top.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Could it be?
So, not bad of a drive?
Well.
See.
This guy's coming in. That could be the doctor. Go to Mark 3. Have him come towards you.
Hey!
This guy's coming in.
See.
This guy's coming in. That could be the doctor. Go to Mark 3. Have him come towards you.
Hey! You made it. Come on back.
Thanks. How are you?
Good, how are you?
This man is 48 years old, married, and a prominent San Francisco physician. It's hard to believe that someone of his stature would show up to meet a girl who said she was 13 and then follow her into the backyard where she invites him to go in her hot tub.
Pour me a drink. I'm actually going to put on my suit so maybe we can get in the hot tub because it's all warm.
He met the girl online 3 days earlier. The girl was really a perverted justice decoy pretending to be 13. Using the screen name Tall Dreamy Doc, he lies and says he's 29. Remember, he's really 48. He asks the girl, what bra size do you wear? She says 30B, but it's kind of big on me right now. I'm still growing. He replies, I will kiss them. He goes into graphic detail about giving and receiving oral sex, and later says, I'm horny for you, and asks her to masturbate while thinking of him. He tells her several times he could get into trouble, but it isn't enough to stop him from coming over and helping himself to a drink.
I can't. Oh, jeez.
So where are you coming from?
San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, so there probably was a lot of traffic, huh?
Do you have a towel?
As the doctor looks for a towel, he spots Dateline's camera crew.
I gotta take off.
Sir? Yeah. I need to talk to you for a minute.
He runs, but he doesn't get very far.
Get on the ground. I wasn't going to do it. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get his keys.
I wasn't doing anything. Oh, man, I wasn't doing anything.
Get his keys.
I wasn't doing anything.
And like all the other men caught in this investigation, from used car salesmen to engineers to Marines, he goes through the same procedure. first stop, the booking station.
What am I being booked for?
We'll explain all that to you.
Can I call my wife?
You can do that after the booking procedure.
The police ask routine personal questions, but the doctor appears distracted. Nothing's sinking in.
You're going to talk to a detective and just...
Yeah, I explained that to him already. He's just not, he's failing to...
I'm not failing. I'm just really scared. Nothing to be scared about.
Nothing to be scared about?
No.
I'm somebody who has never done anything in my life besides a traffic ticket, and you wouldn't be scared?
You're in some trouble, obviously.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in big trouble, and I feel like I made maybe a mistake, but I didn't do anything.
He's Dr. Maurice Wolin, head of clinical research and medical affairs for a pharmaceutical company, and he's not happy about seeing our cameras.
I'm here in handcuffs. I have pictures being taken of me left and right. I don't know what I'm being accused of.
He's then taken in for questioning by Detective Steve Nelson of the Petaluma Police Department.
First thing I'm going to do is explain to you your Miranda rights, okay? Okay. You have the right to remain silent.
At first, the doctor agrees to talk.
So, I'd like to talk about what happened today, okay?
But he quickly changes his mind.
What screen name do you use?
I really need to have an attorney present.
Okay. Okay.
But despite asking for an attorney, he chooses to keep talking.
You asked to talk to an attorney.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to discuss this further because I can't, unless you want to waive your right to have an attorney present.
The detective asks him 4 more times if he's waiving his right to an attorney.
I will answer what I can.
And each time he agrees and continues to talk.
I'm not going to play games
I'm
here.
not playing games. I'm scared out of my mind.
Right. And I understand that.
You saw my record. I've never done anything wrong in my life.
Okay.
And now I'm being charged with very serious offenses.
Why did you come to the house in Petaluma today?
I was curious.
Okay. Curious about what?
I chatted with someone online. She had asked to meet me on several occasions. I declined. Then today again she asked. I had a little bit of time, not very much.
Okay.
And so I thought I would come out and meet her and nothing more.
Okay.
The doctor is referring to how online he made a date for sex with a decoy, but chickened out. Then the decoy, deliberately behaving like a precocious teenager, encouraged him to come.
I know she was young, and I knew that.
Under 18?
Not sure.
Okay. Did you talk to her about touching and kissing and making each other feel good?
I remember she saying that she had trouble finding something to make her feel good.
Okay.
I was playing with her.
In fact, what he said online was, "I work hard to make the girl feel good. I wouldn't stop until you blank over and over."
And then you told her, no, I'm real, but you're under 18 and I'm over. We would have to be so careful.
I don't remember saying that, but I told her that she needed to be, I was concerned about her. She needed to be careful.
Okay.
The only reason I came today, I was curious, but I wasn't going to do anything. And if you read that, you can tell that over and over again I said that both I shouldn't come, she should be careful.
You're talking about that you want her to take your pants off. You can take mine off if you want. So how do you want to do it?
I wasn't going to do anything. It was that was not appropriate. Officer Nelson, I shouldn't have talked to her. Right. I wasn't going to do anything.
So you drove 40 minutes from Piedmont to meet a 13-year-old. That nothing would have happened. And you expect me to believe that? After you talk about having different sexual acts with her?
It's the truth. She begged me to come. And I know that doesn't make it right, but
all right. The time's approximately 14:38. I'm going to conclude the interview.
Can I call my mom?
I'll walk you over to the trailer.
Once he's taken out of the interrogation room, an officer dials the doctor's wife and hands him the phone.
Honey, I'm in big trouble. I'll explain. You have to bail me out of the Sonoma County Jail. $30,000 check we'll need. It was a sting operation. I'll explain it to you when you're here. Don't bring the girls. I didn't do anything, but I did something stupid.
How much do you know about Chris Hansen? This investigative reporter's name is synonymous with Dateline's successful To Catch a Predator segment, but his colorful run in the spotlight has been filled with plenty of personal and professional scandals. This is the untold truth of Chris Hansen. Chris Hansen was already a veteran reporter when Dateline's To Catch a Predator segment premiered in 2004. As it turns out, he was also the mastermind behind the show. He told City Pulse in 2009, "It was my idea. I was on the phone talking to a friend of mine about this online watchdog group, and I was thinking, wow, if we could combine their ability to work as decoys in chat rooms and our ability to wire a house with hidden cameras and microphones, it could be pretty compelling." But Hansen was quick to give the show's production team a lot of credit, too, making a point to say, "A lot of other smart people weighed in and figured out ways to improve the concept, and we went out and shot the first one." Sure enough, To Catch a Predator was a bona fide mainstream hit. It even got spoofed on South Park, which is perhaps the truest sign that you've really made it. Regarding the show's success, Hansen told the Daily Beast in 2009,
I think what we do is we take people into a world that they've never seen before.
Over the years, Hansen has racked up a number of awards for his investigative reporting. According to his bio on NBC's website, Hansen has received numerous awards, including 8 Emmys for investigative reporting, outstanding coverage of a news story, and outstanding coverage of breaking news. Hansen also received awards for excellence in journalism from both the Associated Press and United Press International, among others. But Hansen has also faced a fair amount of controversy over the years, too. His profile page on NBC News even mentions that he was once detained in India, where he went to uncover the realities of how prescription drugs are approved. He also became embroiled in controversy regarding To Catch a Predator, and there was no shortage of critics who thought the show's strategy basically constituted entrapment.
I mean, you see how this looks.
But Hansen is clearly quite proud of the work he did on To Catch a Predator. As he told Time in 2015, "I think we raised awareness and created a dialogue that didn't exist before. We created compelling television, and I think we exposed a lot of bad people. So if the old guard journalists have a problem with that, then so be it." NBC enjoyed quite a ratings boost thanks to the success of To Catch a Predator. In 2007, the New York Times reported that the series has also been a boon for MSNBC, NBC's cable news channel, which replays episodes in prime time and on weekends. In July, 19 of MSNBC's 25 highest-rated hours were late-night Predator reruns. So how does Hansen feel about forever being associated with To Catch a Predator, a show that featured him chasing down bike thieves, internet scam artists, and other lowlives? In 2009, he told City Pulse, "I had no idea when we did the first one it would get so much attention, nor did I think we'd do some 12 investigations, over 30 hours of television, and write a book about it. I thought we'd come back with me taking a nap on the kitchen counter like the Maytag repairman. Obviously, my name has become connected with TCAP, and I'm comfortable with that." You don't have to be a low-life creepo to feel uneasy around Chris Hansen.
You want a slice? I'm good, thank you very much. I should come see you on Saturday.
Thanks to his association with shows like To Catch a Predator, people seem to be put on edge whenever the investigative reporter enters the room. Speaking to RalphieVersa.com, Hansen gave an illuminating example of how people can respond to him in day-to-day life. He told the website, "One time I was buying a gift. The guy is showing it to me, and he's sweating profusely from the forehead. And I said, 'You all right? Is everything good?' And he said, 'Yeah, you don't have a hidden camera on me right now, do you?' I said, 'No, I'm just trying to get a last-minute gift for Christmas.'" It sounds like Chris Hansen is still finding new and exciting ways to profit off of To Catch a Predator. According to a 2019 story published in the AV Club, he's all too happy to dust off some of his famous catchphrases in order to make a quick buck. This one is a particular favorite.
Why don't you take a seat right over there?
As the website reports, the host now recites those very catchphrases for $50 a pop on Cameo. Though you wouldn't mistake any of these moments for prestige TV, they're definitely pretty entertaining.
It says in the transcripts you're 31, but your screen name is Diaper Baby 30. Should it be Diaper Baby 31?
It's good to know Hansen is still asking the tough questions. After canceling To Catch a Predator in 2008, NBC decided not to renew Chris Hansen's contract in 2013.
You see what I'm getting at? Mm-hmm. What's really going on here?
What's really going on was I came over to take him out for lunch.
This decision may have had something to do with some bad press that came his way. Ironically, Hansen was caught having a romantic affair. According to Radar Online, the scandal began in 2011 when the National Enquirer turned the tables on Hansen and launched a sting operation of its own. Radar Online reported that the National Enquirer secretly filmed Hansen on an alleged date with Kristen Cadell, a TV news reporter for WPTV5. In July 2013, Radar Online published 3 pictures of Cadell and Hansen that were evidently provided by the mistress herself. A month later, Hansen was let go, with NBC releasing this admittedly vague statement to TV Guide. Chris has been a valued member of the team, and we thank him for his many contributions to Dateline and NBC News over the last 20 years. Cadell also wrote a letter to the National Enquirer in July 2013, writing that, Chris told me a divorce was inevitable and the wedding ring on his finger was all but for show. Over the next several months, our friendship evolved into a whirlwind romance. As far as I was concerned, none of it was being done secretively or concealed from the public. After news of the affair went public, Chris Hansen's wife, Mary Joan, finally filed for divorce in June of 2018. According to court documents obtained by Radar Online, Mary Joan claimed that the marriage has broken down irretrievably. The tabloid also reported that, at the time of the filing, it appeared Chris and Mary Joan were already living separate lives. The long-suffering wife listed her residence in a different state from that of her husband. That wasn't the last of Hansen's troubles. In January 2019, the once respected journalist was also evicted from his home. According to TMZ, the former host of To Catch a Predator last paid rent in August 2018, but was $400 short and stopped sending checks altogether after that. It sounds like Chris Hansen just couldn't catch a break in 2019. In January of that year, NBC News reported that Hansen was arrested after he allegedly wrote bad checks to a vendor he owed money to, according to police. Hansen turned himself in to the Stamford Police Department in Connecticut after a warrant was issued for his arrest on a felony charge of issuing a bad check. And what was the check for exactly? According to NBC News, Hansen bought about $13,000 worth of promotional items like hats, shirts, and mugs from a local company and paid for them with a check that bounced. He has been released without bond after assuring he'd follow through on a written promise to appear in court. A little over a week later, this saga reached its conclusion. According to E! News, his attorney confirmed that Hansen made good on the check and, while appearing briefly in court on Wednesday, the prosecutor withdrew the charges and the case is over. Chris Hansen didn't stay idle for long. In 2015, a gritty new show premiered on the cable channel Investigation Discovery, and it was called Killer Instinct with Chris Hansen.
Because finding the truth starts with an instinct.
Killer Instinct with Chris Hansen.
And what's the show about? According to its official website, Chris Hansen brings his unrivaled journalistic skills to a series revealing the hidden truth behind America's most shocking murders. His trademark interviewing excellence guides the viewer through every twist and turn of an enthralling criminal drama. But Hansen's comeback was just getting started. That same year, he launched a Kickstarter campaign to fund a web series called Hansen vs. Predator. Clearly, his fans were still around because he earned $89,068 of his $75,000 goal. In 2016, he joined the nationally syndicated series Crime Watch Daily as its host, and the show was renamed Crime Watch Daily with Chris Hansen. As Fox 13 reports, Hansen will bring the Predator series back to television, revamped for Crime Watch Daily in a new signature series called Hansen vs. Predator. Yep, it's the exact same idea Hansen was planning to do on his own. Although none of Chris Hansen's later projects have achieved the same level of success as To Catch a Predator, Hansen certainly hasn't given up. In fact, he seems to be focused on winning over a whole new generation, and on YouTube, no less.
Good evening, everyone. Chris Hansen here, and you are having a seat with me on my YouTube channel. Have a seat with Chris Hansen from New York City tonight.
This guy's coming in. That could be the doctor.
But if there was a list of the most respected members of the community, a cancer research doctor would probably be near the top.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Could it be?
So, not bad of a drive?
Well.
See.
This guy's coming in. That could be the doctor. Go to Mark 3. Have him come towards you.
Hey, you made it. Come on back.
Thanks. How are
Good, how are you?
This man is 48 years old, married, and a prominent San Francisco physician. It's hard to believe that someone of his stature would show up to meet a girl who said she was 13 and then follow her into the backyard where she invites him to go in her hot tub.
Pour me a drink. I'm actually going to put on my suit so maybe we can get in the hot tub because it's all warm.
He met the girl online 3 days earlier. The girl was really a perverted justice decoy pretending to be 13. Using the screen name Tall Dreamy Doc, he lies and says he's 29. Remember, he's really 48. He asks the girl, "What bra size do you wear?" She says 30B, but it's kind of big on me right now. I'm still growing. He replies, "I will kiss them." He goes into graphic detail about giving and receiving oral sex, and later says, "I'm horny for you," and asks her to masturbate while thinking of him. He tells her several times he could get into trouble, but it isn't enough to stop him from coming over and helping himself to a drink.
I can't. Oh, jeez.
So where are you coming from?
San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, so there probably was a lot of traffic, huh?
Do you have a towel?
As the doctor looks for a towel, he spots Dateline's camera crew.
I gotta take off. Sir? I need to talk to you for a minute.
He runs, but he doesn't get very far.
Oh.
Get on the ground.
I wasn't gonna do it.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Get his keys. I wasn't doing anything. Oh, man, I wasn't doing anything.
Get his keys.
I wasn't doing anything.
And like all the other men caught in this investigation, from used car salesmen to engineers to Marines, he goes through the same procedure. First stop, the booking station.
What am I being booked for? We'll explain all that to you. Can I call my wife?
You can do that after the booking procedure.
The police ask routine personal questions, but the doctor appears distracted, nothing sinking in.
You're going to talk to a detective and just...
Yeah, I explained that to him already. He's just not, he's failing to...
I'm not failing. I'm just really scared. Nothing to be scared about.
Nothing to be scared about?
No.
I'm somebody who has never done anything in my life besides a traffic ticket, and you wouldn't be scared?
You're in some trouble, obviously.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in big trouble, and I feel like I made maybe a mistake, but I didn't do anything.
He's Dr. Maurice Wolin, head of clinical research and medical affairs for a pharmaceutical company, and he's not happy about seeing our cameras.
I'm here in handcuffs. I have pictures being taken of me left and right. I don't know what I'm being accused of.
He's then taken in for questioning by Detective Steve Nelson of the Petaluma Police Department.
First thing I'm going to do is explain to you your Miranda rights, okay? Okay. You have the right to remain silent.
At first, the doctor agrees to talk.
So, I'd like to talk about what happened today, okay?
But he quickly changes his mind.
What screen name do you use?
I really need to have an attorney present.
Okay. Okay.
But despite asking for an attorney, he chooses to keep talking.
You asked to talk to an attorney.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to discuss this further because I can't, unless you want to waive your right to have an attorney present.
The detective asks him 4 more times if he's waiving his right to an attorney.
I will answer what I can.
And each time he agrees and continues to talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, not here again with Geeky Sparkles. She will be back. She's very, very busy trying to play catch up from the weekend. We got back from PowerCon, which was awesome, by the way. PowerCon is very, very cool. And she was happy she got some collector items. She got a Natasa. Anyway, we're going to talk about David Zaslav and the continued disembowelment of DC Entertainment. And this is just the first volley, I think. This is phase 1. I don't think David Zaslav is done. I think he's far from done pruning DC, and I think that he's going to be looking at the comic books next. That is my personal opinion, because they were already kind of paring back the comics before David Zaslav took over. I mean, we've got, editors working at the, out of a WeWork, basically, a shared workspace at this point. They got booted out of their office. They canceled a bunch of books. They fired a bunch of editors. And this has been going on for like 2 or 3 years now. That was under AT&T. That was before David Zaslav came in. But we're going to look at what he's doing with movies and TV. And DC is going to be very, very different under David Zaslav. So anyway, we're going to talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, over 200 and almost 274,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. We do talk about pop culture, talk about comics. Having worked in and around the comic book industry for a number of years. Check it out. We are getting ready to launch Crimson Wren Volume 1. This is the prequel to Shadowbinders. Geeky and I worked on the script, and Jose Garcia is doing the art, and it's some beautiful stuff in the vein of 1980s Spielberg-type adventures. Over 130 pages in hardcover, and it's going to be coming to Indiegogo here pretty soon, so get notified, sign up for notifications. I will put a link in the comments. I'll pin that. Let's talk about this. Gotham Knights might be canceled. A lot of garbage getting canceled at DC, right? Gotham Knights was another shoe that apparently dropped. This show looks like hot trash. This is the one where I guess they kill Batman. And David Zaslav said they have a 10-year plan for DC, and it involves boosting their marquee characters. And killing Batman and Superman is not a good idea. In fact, you want to make sure you elevate Batman and Superman to MCU levels. I mean, at one point in time, Batman and Superman were the two biggest superhero movies of all time. 1970s Superman and, of course, 1980s Batman. And there's no reason why they can't be at the top of the heap again. But, he just doesn't give a shit. Zaslav doesn't care. He doesn't. The CW was going to do this garbage show, Gotham Knights. They had a game and all this other stuff, and now they're talking that it has quietly been canceled. The Direct is actually keeping score of the body count. There's 7 that got canceled, including Batgirl. Oh, I gotta bring this up too. I think it's funny. Kevin Smith, who I'm not covering his second season of He-Man, by the way. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But he gets a headline on Deadline for just saying it's a bad look that they canceled Batgirl. You think David Zaslav cares? He doesn't care if it's a bad look. He's like, it was a bad movie. It was a terrible movie. In fact, this is just a couple days ago from the New York Post. I haven't seen it, obviously. Nobody's going to see this movie now. They made sure of it. But yeah, supposedly the CEO of Warner Brothers cut Batgirl because he didn't believe in it. He didn't think it was a good movie. Zaslav didn't mince words about the company's controversial decision to cancel the release for Batgirl. We're not going to launch a movie until it's ready. We're not going to launch a movie to make a quarter, and we're not going to put a movie out unless we believe in it. So he's basically saying, we don't believe in this movie. It wasn't worth the money. It wasn't worth the money. Apparently, Scoob wasn't worth the money. And I'm sorry people are being put out of work, and I'm sorry people's work, is getting buried forever. It is unfortunate if you've worked on, these shows or movies for years. But this guy is brutal. I mean, again, this is the guy who came in and shut down CNN Plus after 3 weeks. They spent $500 million on CNN Plus. He doesn't give a shit. He looks at this and it's like, this isn't $1 billion tentpole franchise movie, and it could be potentially brand damaging. I mean, the rumor was, now I don't know, all the plot details, but the rumor was they were going to kill off Michael Keaton's Batman in this movie and basically replace Michael Keaton's Batman with Batgirl, just like they were going to kill off Batman in Gotham Knights. You see a pattern here? Why do we have to, just like they were going to kill off Superman and bring in Supergirl? So Zaslav has to be looking at this like Superman, Batman are like two of the most popular superheroes, iconic characters on the planet, and you're going to kill them? You're going to kill them. Yeah, okay. No, that's not going to happen. That's, personal opinion. But yeah, of course, Kevin, not real happy with Warner Brothers because apparently they canceled Strange Adventures as well. So I guess add 8 to the body count. And how come he can, I'm just going to say it. How come he can report on rumors and it's gospel and all the media outlets run with it? Everything Kevin Smith says is 100% accurate, 100% true. But if a YouTuber says it, They get dragged, they get called a liar and called a Nazi and all these other really, really stupid things. And still waiting for that apology that I am never going to get. I'm never going to get that apology because Kevin Smith died. And this is the pod person that took over what was left of his body. This is the pod person that took over Kevin Smith's withered husk. I don't know who this guy is, but he's not Kevin Smith. Anyway, let's talk about something more pleasant like Gotham Knights. This dog shit show that they thankfully are going to probably cancel. The Direct, of course, has a write-up. 7 DC movies and shows that got canceled recently. They said the questionable moves show that nothing is safe when it comes to Warner Brothers paving the way for its new grand plans. Yes, those of you who think comics are fine, those of you who think you've got a cushy job at DC Comics, freelancing or working as an editor or writer from now until the end of time, keep your resumes updated. Get a time machine, go back about 5 or 7 years and start building your own platform. Start working in independent comics. And I do feel bad for some writers. They jump ship from DC because they saw that DC is sinking, and they jump ship to Substack, and Substack is also sinking. It's crazy. And yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people are going to be out of work. Batgirl's canceled. The Killing Joke, the event that prompted this whole article, the abrupt cancellation of Leslie Grace's Batgirl. According to Kevin Smith, it's an incredibly bad look to cancel the Latina Batgirl movie. Well, he did. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit. The film was well into post-production and on its way to being completed. Yeah, and he canceled it. He canceled it. It's like it never existed. Nobody's going to see it. Warner Brothers had no mercy, completely wiping it off the face of the earth. We told you. We have been telling you for a year, I think, ever since they said that David Zaslav was being brought in. We had Warner insiders telling us that this guy is absolutely merciless and that everybody at Warner Brothers was incredibly nervous that he was going to be put in charge. And we told you when he did this tour where he was talking to people, he was listening to people, different divisions of the company. And he was basically the Bobs from Office Space. And when he gets to like DC Comics, he's like, so what do you do? What would you say you do around here? What's your job? Well, I spend about 7.5 to 8 hours a day on Twitter, and then I take a lunch break, and then about a half an hour working on comics, and then I go home. And he's going to say, get the fuck out of here. You're done. You're done. Put your toys in a box, and get the fuck out of here. That's what he's going to say. This is how this guy operates. The Flash, pending. One of the biggest controversies in recent years when it comes to superhero movies is the mess that is Ezra Miller. It's not just YouTubers calling it out. In the last few months, the Flash star has been arrested multiple times, accused of grooming minors. Oh my God, they said the G word on this website. Potentially leading a cult and traversing around with a gun and body armor on his person. Oh my God, they used the G word on this website and they misgendered Ezra Miller. This kind of PR disaster is almost certainly causing consistent panic amongst the ranks in the WB. Could they end up scrapping Miller's movie like they did for Batgirl? They say it's got a massive $200+ million budget. It's not likely, but releasing it in any fashion could prove difficult, especially if Miller's situation gets worse. Yeah, what if Ezra Miller winds up killing somebody? Or themselves, all the Ezras, killed themselves. What happens? Wonder Twins canceled. Who gives a shit? Oh my God, they used the G word on this website and they misgendered Ezra Miller. This kind of recent years when it comes to superhero movies is the mess that is Ezra Miller. It's not just YouTubers calling it out. In the last few months, the Flash star has been arrested multiple times, accused of grooming minors. Oh my God, they said the G word on this website. Potentially leading a cult and traversing around with a gun and body armor on his person. Oh my God, they used the G word on this website and they misgendered Ezra Miller. This kind of PR disaster is almost certainly causing consistent panic amongst the ranks in the WB. Could they end up scrapping Miller's movie like they did for Batgirl? They say it's got a massive $200+ million budget. It's not likely, but releasing it in any fashion could prove difficult, especially if Miller's situation gets worse. Yeah, what if Ezra Miller winds up killing somebody? Or themselves, all the Ezras, killed themselves. What happens? Wonder Twins canceled. Who gives a shit? Did you see the comic where they're talking about how they have orgies on their home planet? Yeah, that's probably what the movie would have been like, if I had to guess. So this is probably a good thing. Supergirl canceled. Good. Because what's going to happen is the rumor is, killing off Superman again, I guess. And she's going to take over, so we don't need that. Add in all the Flash's drama. There's a fairly solid chance that Sasha Callies, Woman of Steel might not get her chance to shine. No, I don't think she was ever going to shine. I don't think people were interested. Blue Beetle pending. Yeah, that one's probably going to get nixed too. They said the HBO Max exclusive was shifted to a theatrical run next year. And could that have protected it from being canceled? Who knows? Legends of Tomorrow canceled. Pretty much everything at CW is canceled. They're selling the CW. Well, is it selling it? It's not worth anything. Green Lantern pending cancellation. Batwoman canceled. The Penguin pending. They think that's going to get axed. Peacemaker season 2. I don't know. I hope it's safe. I actually liked Peacemaker quite a bit. One of the few things I liked from the DCEU or whatever the hell they're calling it now. But if they're going to reboot everything, it's probably gone. CW's Flash canceled. It's been on way too damn long. Gotham Knights, thank God. Gotham duds as the Arrowverse was dying. CW announced Gotham Knights. It was a confusing move, and many called the show's demise then and there. When the trailer first got released, it didn't instill confidence. The project is still breathing. Odds are it won't make it to the finish line. The word is this one is canceled as well. This is another one where Batman dies and a bunch of models, teenagers, Riverdale kids take over for Batman. Yeah, fuck that. Fuck it, cancel it. Cancel it all. Superman and Lois, they'll probably cancel that too. I actually like that one, but they'll probably cancel it. Harley Quinn pending. It's animated. It's expensive. They might cancel it. Titans and Doom Patrol probably gone too if they're going to reset the DC EU. DC's new direction, hopefully for the better. There's a lot of change coming to DC. It's too early to know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but nonetheless, it's happening. During Warner's recent investor call, it was confirmed that the new leadership aims to put in place a 10-year plan for DC Comics projects in a similar manner to what the MCU has done. While all that sounds good on paper, it doesn't make some of the studio's more drastic choices look any better. Hopefully the franchise does become more organized and is built on quality. A quality foundation. They said flat out, like, we're not going to release 95 shitty projects. We'd rather do, 1 or 2 movies that are quality movies. But we'll see. It depends on who's calling the shots, I guess, over there. Lots of people saying, thank God the Arrowverse is dead. Yeah, it's been going on for way too long, guys. Way too long. So yeah, I think DC's getting a hard reset. It's getting disemboweled. David Zaslav is coming, and yeah, he hasn't forgotten about the comic books. He just hasn't gotten around to it yet because the comic books aren't very important. In fact, they dropped comics from the DC Comics URL. So, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. A lot of comic book professionals now I'm seeing on Twitter saying things that YouTubers have been saying for a long time, that it makes more sense for Warner Brothers to just outsource their comic books to another comic book publisher instead of doing it themselves. That would not surprise me at all. We've been talking about that for years, both DC and Marvel. And, other YouTubers, I know Ethan Van Sciver said he thought that was probably going to happen with DC. I know for a fact that Disney was talking about it with Marvel about 5 years ago. And they decided against it for whatever reason. I think the main motivator was they tried it with IDW and it didn't work out very well for them. But they might come back around to that, especially with the recession coming. But yeah, we're seeing mainstream media outlets. This is Comic Book Resources. Comic Book Resources saying that, manga is basically propping up the Western comic book industry. That if it wasn't for manga numbers and graphic novel numbers, that the Western comic book industry would be a complete joke. That it is a complete joke. They said the comic book industry is at a crossroads. It can continue to artificially pump up its own success, or it can look at why its more traditional products are plummeting downhill in comparison to manga and crowdfunding and graphic novels. And Zaslav's going to look at that. And he's going to be like, I'm canceling stuff that actually has a chance to make millions of dollars. millions and millions and millions of dollars. And these comic books, you know, they might make a little bit of a profit. They might just break even, but we don't need them. We don't need them. We'll just hire away the best writers to make Superman and Batman movies and TV shows and whatever, and keep it all in line with whatever the plan is for DC going forward. We don't need the comic books. And it's going to happen, guys. I think it's going to happen sooner than you think. Zaslav moves quick. He moves very, very quick. And we've already seen it. Nothing is off the table at this point, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
That's all, folks.
Well, Ezra Miller went full goblin mode and took the rest of the DCEU with him.
I'm not transgender, non-binary. I don't want to be searched by a man. I'm transgender, non-binary, and I don't want to be searched by a man.
Oh my God. Did Ezra Miller just assume that officer's gender?
In case you worry that they're bullets, those are Nerf bullets.
Thank you for letting
me.
me.
They are fake and they are a toy.
Thank you for letting
me.
me.
This is my belt buckle and my Nerf bullets.
I appreciate that.
Please don't take them from me.
I have nerve damage from police handcuffs.
No, what the heck? I'll laugh anyway.
DC's been so hell-bent on being progressive, every project has gone progressively insane. If you've seen DC Comics, it looks like the writers spend more time on Twitter being activists rather than being creative. But finally, someone took their nose out of the woke coke and realized they had a disaster so big it could actually damage the brand.
It's over. We are screwed.
And I'm personally mortified by the fact that Batgirl will not see theater releases. We could have had another Morbius, but no. DC had to be smarter than Disney. Anyway, Batgirl got canned. I don't know about you, but it looks like a CW TV show they labeled as a movie. With A-list celebrities from 40 years ago. Brendan Fraser and Michael Keaton. Both men appear to be geriatrics borderlining on octogenarians. Oh, and Supergirl got canned as well. That was a spin-off from The Flash. But thanks to Ezra Miller's Crazy King Spring, that's pretty much over. People on Twitter who used to love Ezra Miller because he used to be a they-them, or maybe he still is. I don't know, I get him and Demi Lovato confused all the time. Both seem to be bat crazy. Pardon the pun. Well, anyway, now that Ezra Miller's on the outs, Progressive Twitter demands that Elliot Page replaces Ezra Miller as the Flash. I wish to God I saved all of these unhinged demands from career Twitter users, aka Zoomers, screaming into the void. I don't know what planet they live on where they think Warner Brothers wants to just fritter money away and make Elliot Page the Flash. Admittedly, I'd probably watch it just to see how bad it was. Frankly, I get excited when shows are real bad now. Like before, I used to get excited when things were good. Now it's like, how bad could it be? The costumes look like they spent more of the budget on catering and diversity hires than practical effects and props. For God's sakes, Batgirl is riding around on a BMW S1000RR with the original BMW logos and insignias on it. It's kind of funny to think about. The stunt girl for Batgirl is actually white. Like we wouldn't notice. If you look at Supergirl's costume, it's made by someone with Down syndrome. I mean, for real, look at those abs. How do you make a muscle suit and not understand basic human anatomy? It looks like they taped spoons to her belly. Men playing superhero roles have to get fit. Women playing superhero roles, they just get CGI or muscle suits.
That doesn't seem fair.
This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Remember the old days of the internet? Anonymously living your best life and buying things or clicking whatever, worry-free. Now, big tech watches every move you make and tracks everything you click. Like a modern-day Mary Kay girl, always looking to sell, sell, sell. Surfshark is here to clean up your web experience. Block those pesky trackers and cookies. What a man looks at on his own time is his own damn business. Get out of here, Google. Surfshark even goes the extra mile by writing a blog that explains to you how you can even save money on airline tickets using a VPN. This is crazy. I didn't know you could do this. Let's not forget, you could use Surfshark to watch region-locked content. Wink, wink. Click the link in the description or use the code IT'SAGUNNA to find out how you can save 83% and get 3 months off for free. And guess what? If you don't like it, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can't lose. Anyway, what bothered me about Batgirl's Bat Cycle was the fact the prop department couldn't afford a razor blade to scrape off the BMW decals. And Batman, my God, look at him. Michael Keaton now looks like every jackass that shows up to a Comic-Con. This is tragic. It looks like somebody went and bought a costume from the Spirit of Halloween and stuffed Michael Keaton in it. This is career poison.
Wakanda forever.
Firefly with Brendan Fraser. The costume matches the state of Brendan Fraser's physical appearance. It looks like just absolute shit. I'm sorry, Brendan Fraser. We all knew that this was going to be a train wreck of a film from the jump. It had all the hallmarks of a failed venture, with casting choices you'd only see on a BuzzFeed article or poll. Barbara Gordon, a well-known redhead, is now a
female, colored, bisexual. Throughout my life, these have proven to be obstacles from time to time, but now I'm fully embracing them as my superpowers.
If I saw another white person play a white character, I'd have pissed myself at a bronies meetup and screamed into my gender-neutral potato head. It was also going to feature the first transsexual superhero that was retconned to be transsexual, I think, in the New 52. If you care, I forgot her name is Ayana Cho or something like that. It's like a character no one cares about. Who would want this character in a movie? That would be like having a major focus on like Jimmy from the Daily Bugle in a Superman movie. Who cares about Jimmy besides Superman? I don't even think Jimmy's parents care about Jimmy. Basically, it all went downhill when Warner Brothers test screened the movie and people were trying to commit suicide in the seats. One man reportedly tried to hang himself with his own shoelaces. Sources say that he was wearing Nike Air Force One mochas.
HBO Max's Batgirl, starring Leslie Grace, has reportedly been shelved by Warner Brothers Discovery, according to a report from The Warp. The movie, which cost $90 million, the people working on it says $100 million, to produce, seems to have failed to please the audiences in the first test screenings, potentially leading to Warner Brothers Discovery decision to shelve the project and prevent it from being a huge flop. Oh, damn it. I could have used a good laugh.
And I pray that this video does not fall into the hands of trolls.
Collider has spoken to people who saw the unfinished movie who told us it was a huge disappointment and looked cheap in comparison to other films.
What are you talking about? Look at Superwoman. She looks like a goddamn goober.
While information about Batgirl's plot is scarce, probably because it wasn't one, the movie was supposed to connect to a bigger DCEU extended universe, with J.K. Simmons returning as Commissioner James Gordon and played both roles in Justice League. Michael Keaton as Batman. Tim Burton, yeah, we know. Brendan Fraser as the classic Batman villain Firefly. Let's
Be real, nobody really cares about Firefly.
Ivory Aquino as the transgendered vigilante Alyssa Yao, Rebecca Front, and Corey Johnson and Ethan Kai. I don't know who these people are.
I would have known who they were if you just put this film out. The chick playing Batwoman, girl, whatever, Leslie Grace. I'm already tired.
To every Batgirl fan,
How are they any fans? We saw nothing.
thank you for the love and belief, allowing me to take the cape and become, as Barb said best, my own damn superhero, Batgirl for life.
Oh, yeah, sure. We're going to remember this. In 3 weeks, we're all going to forget this movie ever existed. We'll be on to some new crappy... We'll be watching Lord of the Rings and vomiting in our mouths. Leslie also posted a video of herself singing Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You, right? I don't know. I guess this is supposed to let you know she's moving forward positively. If that's the Batgirl suit, it looks like
After the Post broke the Batgirl story, Variety reported the film was killed for tax purposes and to avoid marketing costs. Smart move. Outlets correctly noted that Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav is pivoting away from the old strategy of direct-to-streaming releases.
a lot of these direct streaming shows are absolute buckets.
However, film industry sources insist to the Post that the film's quality was part of the equation, said in an on-screen test numbers were in the 30s out of 100. Oh, that's Morbius good. Plus, streaming wasn't on the table anyway. HBO Max, I'm told, didn't lose Batgirl. It had zero interest in the movie. Casey Bloys, what a weird name, the chief content officer at HBO and HBO Max, did not want it anywhere near his streaming service, and the film was instead headed for theatrical release.
I got nothing for that. Could you imagine how bad this is? Now I really want to see it. I am intrigued. It's so bad, a streaming service doesn't want it. We live in a day and age where streaming services just want to pump out content. And they actually looked at Batgirl and said, no, we're good. I think we could do some more reruns of Seinfeld or something.
The next movie is becoming a huge mess for the studio, with fans online demanding the film be released. The debacle has been made more egregious by the fact that the film is led by a Latin actress surrounded by a diverse cast of filmmakers.
Well, you don't think that possibly that was the issue? Leading with diversity. I have to see this film now. I have to see it. You gotta release it, Warner Brothers. Not because I think it's good, but because, oh man, it would be so memeable, dude. It'd be so memeable. I could taste it. You know, and if this came out in the future, some idiots were talking about diversity in television and movies. You just pull out clips from Batgirl. Oh, it would have been the greatest rebuttal ever. Why must they deny us such pleasure?
Talk about waking up and choosing violence, Heather Anto said.
She's apparently popular for something, according to Yahoo News.
Warner Bros. Discovery will not release Batgirl, though.
That's not a shocker.
Leslie Grace, Michael Keaton, Brendan Fraser, Paula Abdul. All of their hard work deserves to be seen by the world.
Bro, they're actors, not coal miners. Oh my God. Oh, Michael Keaton's gonna lose sleep. Someone didn't see him put on a ill-fitted Batman costume. What a world.
If they're willing to set a $130 million on fire to not release Batgirl or Scoob.
Oh yeah, forgot they canceled Scooby-Doo too.
Then Warner Brothers should absolutely have zero excuses not to scrap The Flash, given the circumstances surrounding Ezra Miller. Here's the thing.
Maybe The Flash might actually be decent. The reason why Batgirl isn't happening is because it was so bad, it would damage the brand, which I wish they do it, just so I could watch superhero movies die.
Warner Brothers, let's scrap Batgirl film with promising young star that I'd never heard of, but sure, Linus. Michael Keaton Batman and Brendan Fraser as the villain, but making absolutely no changes to the Flash film where the star is currently hiding from the police.
It just tells you how bad this film's gotta be. Batgirl is so bad, they would rather put out Ezra Miller's Flash. So bad, it's gotta be good. It's probably the greatest piece of cinema in human history, and we'll never see it.
The fact that they are shelving Batgirl, but still planning to release the Flash movie, and praying somehow no one has read a single Ezra Miller story online for the past 2 years is a choice.
Yes! How hard is it for you to understand, Lacey? Batgirl's just that bad. These idiots are trying to frame it like, oh, they're trying to keep down a woman of color. No, the film is terrible. It's so bad, the CEOs are like, let's lead with Ezra Miller. Ezra hasn't been in trouble for a whole 2 weeks. We should be cool. Oh, you Twitter.
I did not hear you come in, Lieutenant.
How are you feeling?
Centered.
Don't be misled. Your violent instincts still exist. You are simply suppressing them as Vulcans do.
I can feel the difference. It is almost as if I can observe the violence inside me without letting it get too close. It is quite remarkable what you Vulcans have learned to do.
Understand that this will not be a permanent change unless you commit to a strict daily regime of meditation and mental exercise. I also believe that a series of holodeck programs designed to allow your violent tendencies to be released in a safe environment may help to purge your aggressive impulses.
Holographic violence does not give the same sensation as the real thing. I've tried it.
Has anyone ever suggested targeted neurosynaptic therapy?
That didn't work either.
Our doctor is programmed with the medical knowledge of every Federation world. Perhaps he'll know of some treatment you haven't tried.
Since the meld, I feel capable of controlling myself. Perhaps with your help I can learn to stay this way. It must be difficult for you.
Difficult?
Knowing violence as I've known it.
I have studied violence for over 100 years.
Studying it and knowing it are two different things, aren't they? It's attractive, isn't it?
Attractive?
Violence.
On the contrary, I find it disturbing.
You're right, it is disturbing. Never knowing when that impulse may come, or whether or not you can control it when it does. You live on the edge of every moment, and yet, in its own way, violence is attractive too. Maybe because it doesn't require logic. Perhaps that's why it's so liberating. Ironic, isn't it? That I can share with you of all people what I have hidden from everyone all my life. Can we do it again, Tuvok?
Again?
Meld.
That would not be advisable.
I understand. Really, I do. I've thought about it a lot. In a way, a mind meld is almost an act of violence, isn't it?
I don't understand why you would...
Penetration. Your will dissolving mine. The joining. It seems to me that a mind meld might be fatal if you lost control. I did not hear you come in, Lieutenant.
How are you feeling?
Centered.
Don't be misled. Your violent instincts still exist. You are simply suppressing them as Vulcans do.
I can feel the difference. It is almost as if I can observe the violence inside me without letting it get too close. It is quite remarkable what you Vulcans have learned to do.
Understand that this will not be a permanent change unless you commit to a strict daily regime of meditation and mental exercise. I also believe that a series of holodeck programs designed to allow your violent tendencies to be released in a safe environment may help to purge your aggressive impulses.
Holographic violence does not give the same sensation as the real thing. I've tried it.
Has anyone ever suggested targeted neurosynaptic therapy?
That didn't work either.
Our doctor is programmed with the medical knowledge of every Federation world. Perhaps he'll know of some treatment you haven't tried.
Since the meld, I feel capable of controlling myself. Perhaps with your help I can learn to stay this way. It must be difficult for you.
Difficult?
Knowing violence as I've known it.
I have studied violence for over 100 years.
Studying it and knowing it are two different things, aren't they? It's attractive, isn't it?
Attractive?
Violence.
On the contrary, I find it disturbing.
You're right, it is disturbing. Never knowing when that impulse may come, or whether or not you can control it when it does. You live on the edge of every moment, and yet, in its own way, violence is attractive too. Maybe because it doesn't require logic. Perhaps that's why it's so liberating. Ironic, isn't it? That I can share with you of all people what I have hidden from everyone all my life. Can we do it again, Tuvok?
Again?
Meld.
That would not be advisable.
I understand. Really, I do. I've thought about it a lot. In a way, a mind meld is almost an act of violence, isn't it?
I don't understand why you would...
Penetration. Your will dissolving mine. The joining. It seems to me that a mind meld might be fatal if you lost control. I did not hear you come in, Lieutenant.
How are you feeling?
Centered.
Don't be misled. Your violent instincts still exist. You are simply suppressing them as Vulcans do.
I can feel the difference. It is almost as if I
I believe we're about ready.
Revive him.
Something has changed.
We've temporarily removed all of your emotional suppression abilities, Lieutenant. How do you feel?
I feel.
Tuvok, do you know where you are?
Of course I know where I am, Captain. I'm just not sure I know who I am.
Try to relax. The treatment still has about 3 minutes to go.
Oh, it must be working. Because I feel very strong. Very powerful.
Quite euphoric. This must be how my ancestors felt. Doctor, would you consider allowing me to remain this way for a while? It would be a valuable opportunity for me to study primal Vulcan behavior.
Sorry, I'm not prepared to do that. The course of treatment is very specific.
You are not invulnerable, hologram. A few well-chosen commands to the computer, and you will cease to exist.
2 minutes, 30 seconds left.
You look...
2 minutes. 2 minutes, 30 seconds left.
Well-chosen commands to the computer, and you will cease to exist.
2 minutes, 30 seconds left.
You look shocked, Captain.
You must be asking yourself,
what if this doesn't work? What do we do then?